Hey, we're the Shealys. Welcome to the Daily Bread podcast.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all things ministry, music, family, creativity, and maybe even a little fashion.
Yay! Hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Bread Show. I'm Chris. This is my wife, Summer.
Hey.
And together we are the Shealys. Oh, I love it. Welcome back for another episode. Today, we're going to dive into what a radical yes looks like. And maybe over the course of the next few episodes, we might talk about what a radical yes is, the various different ways it plays out in life, and how it's currently playing out in our life. Holy smokes. It's a season, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, why don't we just start by, let me ask you right now in this season. We've talked about our yes to the Lord in multiple episodes and lots of interviews and lots of things we've done online. Why don't you talk about like what right now on a day-to-day, a radical yes is sort of looking like in your life?
I think today I would say it looks like just saying yes for today.
Yeah.
We're personally in a season, a transition season.
Yeah.
And so one of our mentors says she always gets really excited when it's transition because she knows God's close and something big's happening. So I'm trying,
A glutton for punishment,
used to, or often like commonly people are like, transition, oh, I'll be praying for you.
Oh.
And I think like that's our default mindset.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it does come with like, difficult things that you're just walking through,
hard,
changing
yeah.
seasons. But I've really been trying to shift my mindset into transition. God is not that he can ever be closer than he is, but sometimes you tangibly can feel him closer and that something great is coming.
Oh.
And so with all of that in mind, it's like I just can't think beyond today.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a transition, there is so much that is unknown.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think depending upon what season of life you're in, good or bad, a yes is really defined by that season and you leaning into what that is for you, between you and the Lord. So for me, that's right now he gets my just one day at a time because there is so much for us that is unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's... Again, I mean, obviously the whole branding of our ministry right now is Daily Bread.
Yeah.
So we are a Daily Bread family. We're a Daily Bread couple. We're a Daily Bread ministry where literally like everything is day to day. And transition's sort of inevitable, right? It happens in cyclical moments of life. It is a pattern of living a kingdom lifestyle. Transition, seed time and harvest, you transition again to time for planting seed. It's always happening in circles, sort of life for us. And we find ourselves not necessarily like back in the same places, although sometimes we do circle all the way around and come back to a very similar thing. Talk about what that journey's like, navigating through like transition is moving forward. Mm-hmm. Sometimes transition is coming right back to where you were. Mm-hmm. Like what was that about? Like that's...
So the first thing that comes to mind is we recently just watched this sermon with Tim Ross.
Oh, man.
It was about
Shout out, Tim.
Abraham and the journey of Isaac and all of this. And it was incredible, by the way. I'll try to remember.
Maybe we can share a link.
The name
somewhere.
of it. But everybody should listen to it. But what I loved about it is he just gave this great visual aid to Abraham's yes, and how Abraham never had an understanding of anything. He just knew God told him to do something. And oftentimes, if you actually go back and dig deep into like what God asked of those people in the biblical days, it's so much more than what we endure here because we have the aid of technology and all of these things that like help soften the unknown at times, Then they had absolutely nothing. It was like the sun rose and the sun set and there was God, and that was kind of it.
And they needed rain for their crops. Yeah.
So anyways, in this thing, he gave this great visual aid of like Abraham and Sarah, and like God would just ask them to move like to a new location or to do this. And it was like, well, why, this is like Sarah talking to Abraham. Well, why are we doing this? I don't know. God said so.
The Lord said to do this.
And it was like,
are you crazy?
Okay, well, where are we going? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, how long is it going to take? I don't know.
No idea.
Why are we going? I don't know.
Not sure yet.
But you see the story of Abraham unfold and the promise fulfilled. And it was just such a good, it wasn't like any newfound thing I didn't know, but sometimes when you see something made so relevant like that, how often do we find ourselves saying, I don't know? And then we liken that to, well, maybe it's not God.
Yeah, right. That's a pitfall. It's dangerous.
Well, why are we doing it? I don't know. Okay, well, maybe that's not God.
Because it's not clear, it must not be God.
And it's like, if you're waiting on something to be clear, you're going to miss it.
Right.
Every time.
100%.
You're going to miss it. Now, will God still meet you? Yeah, because he's that good.
Look, we can just literally pause right there in camp. That whole revelation for us in our life is like, we say yes. It literally takes an everyday refocusing for us to keep saying yes to some of the crazy stuff the Lord's laid on our hearts to do, to leave family, to move, to go to a land where we know nobody, and to dwell in tents and like literally bounce around. And we feel like this is a promised land, but there's nothing here. For
us, this has been that season when God asked Abraham to leave everything that he knew.
Yeah.
And everything was working. You see, it wasn't like, okay, well, everything's shut down here, we're going to leave. No, everything was working fine.
Yeah.
And God still said, okay, but I'm going to ask you to go here.
That's kind of the cycle, is like you get to a spot and you build where what you know to do with what you know to use, how you know to do it, and you start building this thing that's like, it's making sense. It feels a little bit comfortable, and the Lord's like, none of that was ever it. Like, come over here, move again. But the whole point of like, it does not have to be clear. And for us in ministry, a large portion of what we do is ministry donor based. It's like, it doesn't even have to be funded fully to know that God said to do it.
Right.
And so that's really crazy when, you need manna, you need provision, you need money to do things, you need, and so I'm just like, that's what we're walking through, is like, God, you said to do this. Where's everything? Where's the people? Where's the stuff, the resources to do all that we need that you've said we're going to do? It's all right. Just keep going. Trust me. Come over here now. And it's like, holy smokes, this is crazy. But it's it's not just us. It's a body of Christ thing. We see it happening in a lot of our friends' lives too.
I think it's being comfortable with saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
They actually teach that in leadership classes. They teach you to say, if someone comes to you, like in a corporate setting, like and you're doing something like in a business or in a hospital or anything like that, and they ask you and you don't know, you are to say,
I don't know.
I don't know. Let me go find someone that can help you.
It's dangerous because our pride and our egos make us want to appear to everybody that we know exactly what we're doing, that we've got it all figured out. That there's really no room for that. To walking with the Lord, and a radical yes and a daily yes. It's
not when you look at the people that God chose to highlight to us in the Word
as examples, right?
Are people that never knew.
Yeah. Didn't have it figured out.
People that had absolutely radical stories that, like most of us, at least in America, cannot even begin to comprehend and relate to. And they never changed their yes.
They didn't change course.
And so I think we overlook that. It's like we see the big endings to these stories, and that's oftentimes what is highlighted even from platforms and pulpits and if you grow up in church, is the big endings and how God's, promise was fulfilled for this person. When actually for us in the day-to-day, we need to go back and dive into the journey and the story. And I think we're in a time, an hour right now, where if you are feeling the squeeze and you are coming up most days saying, I don't know, and everything in your life feels unknown on top of a squeeze,
Yeah.
That's probably indicative that you are absolutely where you're supposed to be and walking out what God's asked you to do.
It does not feel good though, does it?
Right.
It's terrifying. Like we've had this multiple times, even currently in our season, where we'll have a day where we're like, this makes zero sense to my intellect. This makes zero sense to what I would consider wisdom, what I would consider how God provides, or what I would, in my head, how I saw it all going, how I understood it, what he said, and now where I'm at aren't lining up. I'm off. I'm missing something. How many times do we like bite the hook of the enemy? And to get into this thought process where we're called to give a yes, he's going to take care of the details. He's going to figure the things out. He knows how to get us from point A to point B. He knows everything we need along the way. Our job is to get low and say yes, but we try to figure it out. And there's all these temptations of the enemy to swirl our mind and just mess us up. And we've had those days where we're like, this is crazy. None of it makes sense. Where's anything that he said? We've missed the Lord. And then the next day we see his hand and we're like, oh God, we're sorry.
I think that we will often in these latter days see an increase in those kinds of days though.
Yeah.
Because there's an increase in chaos.
Yeah.
There's an increase in noise, so to say, and all of the crazy things that are happening. There's also an increase in our human need to understand and explain things because we have so much access to technology. We feel like we should be able to explain and write a course out for everything. And all of that stuff is so readily available. And so I feel like it is actually, we're living in a day and age where just because we see an increase in those days where everything feels so out of whack and out of line, and to be completely, this can't be God. This is so insane. Nobody would ever endorse this.
Who would sign up for this? Yeah.
That we will have to just be able to say, it's okay. This is actually our journey.
Right.
This is actually our journey with the Lord. And it's not saying that your whole journey is going to be full of fear, anxiety, and the unknown. No. But it's being able to be okay in the middle of a mystery.
And if you look, at the end of the day, if we're gonna go where the Lord has taken us historically in our life, we cannot take certain things with us. So that's going to be painful. We're going to have to be pruned. We're going to have to be stripped of some things.
Yeah.
From glory to glory that sounds awesome. But that to me is like lower and lower before him. And so to become more like him on whatever journey we're on, things have to fall off. People have to fall out of our life. Relationships, proper alignments. It happens over and over. There are people that are sent to your life for a season to run with you, to grab arms, to support you, whatever that may look like. And at the end of that, just because we're humans and we love, it's painful to let go of those relationships. But not every one of them should go to the next place. So you got to let go of things, and you got to hold people loosely before the Lord, and whatever that means for your journey. It's tough. And then I think the third practical thing that we're trying to do really well as we're navigating our own journey and all this is lean on people, is to let people know where we're at. Like practically to get through a really hard day. I did this, and Summer's always like, what are you doing? I'm walking around on my phone. Just when things get tough, I call people I trust, and we reach out to people who are in ministry. And because we're fortunate to have mentors and people that are older than us and that have been doing it longer than us, and we could pick up the phone and call a Rev Joe. We love you, Rev Joe. And we could say, we're going crazy, pray for us, tell us what to do. And they just respond with, it's okay, we'll pray for you, keep going. Because they know what we're going through, don't they? They've been there, they've done it. And so it was said to us years ago by a mentor in the faith, good leaders are good leaners, and lean on your people. So that really is part of the daily yes for us, is picking up the phone and not being so full of ego that we can't tell people that we're thick in the suck right now. This is really terrible. We need help. Help us to see, help us to hear, ask us hard questions, right?
Right. It's kind of similar to like in the corporate or business setting when it's like you need to go visit other businesses and management places to see how they do things.
Oh yeah.
To bring it back to your business and implement what you think might help and, take your own business further, that sort of thing. That's what leaning is. Like when you're in the middle of your journey and it's a very intense season, you don't have the ability, and you're not supposed to on your own.
Right.
Like you can't see outside of your moment at that time, whether it's grief or it's a financial strain or it's a relational strain,
100%.
Whatever it is, you can't see outside of it. So part of the intentionality of leaning on those leaders and those mentors in your life is they give you the ability. It's almost like they lend you a lens to come over here. Hey, look from my perspective for a second. I know that you're here, but if you could see from where I'm at,
yes,
there's a different perspective.
100%.
So it's not that they give you answers all the time, but it lets you zoom out a little bit. Okay, all right, this is really crappy, or this is unimaginable emotion or pain right now. But let me zoom out. These people are helping me see.
Well, that's just maturity. They don't even have the answers.
Right.
They know that God's doing a work in us. And if this is going on in your life, God is doing a work in your life. And the people around you know that. And so it's not their job to fix it for you. It's not their job to correct things unless they see it. What God's doing, we need to let happen.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but we've got to go through the process of, and it, like, not to be heavy, the transitions don't always suck. It's a beautiful thing if it's done well. And I think that's what we talked about even yesterday, is like all of this is going to work together for our good if we handle it the right way. It'll be really positive in the end. But our people that speak into our life don't have the answers. They can look at our life and diagnose things. They can ask us questions. I was talking to our friend Andy Mason. I love to shout out my friends. He has been such a great voice into my life, and I'm grateful to have somebody I can call and say, this is what's going on. Am I crazy? What do I need to do? Is there anything, like, do we just need to go get jobs? What do we need to do? And he zooms me out by asking really good questions. Okay, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? If you could unload yourself, what would you find? What would if you were to hire yourself for a gig, what would you employ yourself to do? And then it helps you identify, well, actually everything I'm currently doing. Okay, great. Forge ahead. Stay the course. You're going to be fine. You were born for this. And I'm like, yes. So even just the positive reinforcement of people that already know the answer of like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Stay the course and keep going. Just as like a win in your sales. I guess the overarching point is to reach out, And
be okay with saying, I don't know.
Right.
I think that's kind of where we started with this conversation.
It's powerful.
There are so many times in life where we say, I don't know, and we link that to, well, let's go fast and pray and make sure it's the Lord. And I'm not saying don't do that.
Yeah.
Anytime you feel inclined in your spirit to seek the Lord, do it. But I'm saying don't make a quick decision that just because you're looking at yourself in the mirror saying, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know who I am. God, where are you? Those questions should actually raise a flag to make you say, oh, this could absolutely be a crazy transition season for me or for my family. And my spiritual sensors need to be heightened.
Right.
Because there's so much unknown.
Yes. Come on. That is so good. And we're obviously, we share about what we go through, but it's going on with pretty much everybody we know that's in the body of Christ or in ministry or even not in ministry. We see this happening currently in our season. It's the time, it's the hour where there's a great reset going on around the world. There is a great transitional period. There is a realignment happening in the spirit. There's a realignment for a new season in partnerships and collaborations that need to happen. There's just a lot going on in the body. And so all of this is meant to be shared, to be encouraging, to be like, okay, if we know that we're in this kind of a season globally, in the body of Christ especially, we need to really pay attention to how we're handling it. We need to really lean in on some of the practicals of like you said earlier, it's a day. You wake up in the morning and you give your yes to the Lord, and you receive what He has for you in that day. This is where daily bread comes back in, because there's always enough to get through each day to keep going. It doesn't always satisfy or reconcile the long-term things that we want to see or understand or even grasp, but there's enough for today, you know?
Always.
There always is. And so I guess practically, like, how do we help people that are watching this or, you know, listening in wherever they're watching it, like anything else than we've already said?
I think I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but be okay with saying I don't know.
Yeah.
And let that actually put fuel in your fire, so to speak, that, hey, this could actually be a massive breakthrough in my life when there's a combination of a squeeze and an I don't know. Ooh. That should be like fuel on your fire.
Yes.
Of, okay, something great is about to happen. That's sort of actually where we started.
That's how you pass the test. That's why you started there. Do you remember in university in science class when we had to stand in front of everybody on our like final tests, and they would actually ask you questions that they knew you didn't know the answers to, and they would grade you highly if you answered with an I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's a more respectable answer in science. You remember that? I remember standing up there, and most of my answers were I don't know, by the way.
Vaguely. Not really, but
it's been a long time ago.
It's very applicable, yes. I feel like.
Across the board.
Yeah. And God loves it. Like, we're not meant, I think that actually, we can kind of close out or whatever with this, but I feel like that takes a burden off.
Come on.
Because God never meant for us to know. That's something that we have taken upon ourselves. And actually, we're like conditioned and hardwired to do from the time we enter into education zone.
Yeah.
Is like, here's all the things that you're supposed to know. Oh. And it kind of just grows from there. And so then we come out of high school and then into university or whatever your path has been. It's a trade school. It's like all of these things are what you're supposed to know. Yeah. And God's like, let me just break all that down because you're actually way more, useful is not the right word, but ready to run with me.
Yeah.
Without all of that. It's like weighty baggage, all of the things you know. The tree of knowledge. Yeah. It's not all bad, but it actually can become weighty and slow you down in your run.
That's good.
So run faster, knowing less.
Ooh. That's a line. Run faster, knowing less. Wow. Don't take money bags with you. It weighs you down. The disciples didn't, and he provided. That's a good word. That should be helpful to a lot of people. So, yes, wherever you are, friends, thanks for joining us for this episode. And in your season of transition, whatever it looks like, if it's relational, if it's a job, if it's geographical, if it's career, whatever, hold everything lightly before the Lord. Get low every day, say yes. Don't be afraid to look at yourself and say, I don't know. Yeah. Don't be afraid to lean in and ask for help. And be blessed on your journey. Much love from the Shealys. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey guys, thank you for joining us and listening in.
Yeah, I really hope you liked it. And if you'd like more content like this in the future, would love for you to consider supporting our ministry. We would love to produce a lot more content and keep it all free. So if you're interested, head over to shealyworship.com/support to find out more.
Thank you guys.